Well, today is August 1st. Can you believe it? We're already to the start of the eighth month of the year. So we're well more than halfway through the year now. And, something I'm doing at the month of August, starting with today, I'm calling it a challenge. It's my August challenge. But what I'm doing is basically trying to keep myself accountable, and I'm going to record everything that I eat, the time of day I eat it, what I eat, how much I eat, and I'm going to post it on I have a private Facebook group. Um, I'll put a link to it in case you want to join the group. And anybody that's in the group can, you know, do this challenge as well with me. But anyway, I'm going to do that throughout the month. I got some other people in the group that have already said they're going to do it as well. And it's going to help us to keep each of us accountable, because we know that we have to post what we're eating to other people and show them what we're eating and how often, how much, that kind of stuff. And there's a few things to that too, because it's not just accountability, but it's also like get to see what you're eating. Sometimes you kind of lose track of what you're eating, and it can go either way. Like you may find that, you know what, you're actually not eating enough, and maybe that's the problem. So you actually need to increase how much you're eating a little bit. Or, maybe, gee, I didn't realize I was eating that much cheese or whatever it is. And maybe I need to cut back on some of that kind of thing. So, different things you can do with it. And that's what I'm doing for my challenge for August. So anyway, that's what I'm doing there. So while we're on that subject, kind of talking about accountability, motivation, that kind of stuff, let's talk a little bit about what I feel is probably the biggest piece to keeping you accountable to yourself and motivated when you're on a diet. Doesn't matter if it's carnivore, keto, low carb, or whatever, or if it's something completely different, Mediterranean diet, whatever it is that you're trying to do. The key piece is having a really good why. And I know I've talked about this before, but I just want to go into it with a little bit of detail here again. Um, it needs to be something that you really feel strongly about and that you can continue to measure. So you don't want it to be your why is, I just need to lose weight. I need to lose 30 pounds, because you lose that 30 pounds, that why is over. You lost it, right? And now you're more likely to not be as conscientious about what you're trying to do and start gaining some of that weight back. So you want it to be a really strong why, something powerful to you, something that is very personal to you. And like I will share my why. My why is that I want to get healthy and live a long life so that I can watch my kids grow up, watch them get married, have kids of their own, that kind of thing. And then grow old with my wife and get to do different things, go out on vacations and stuff. Like when I retire, and that, be able to go on trips and so forth with my wife and still feel, healthy enough to do things like maybe go to Smoky Mountains and do some hiking, that kind of stuff. That is my why. And I feel like that's a really good why for myself, because first of all, there's probably not a stronger love than there is for your kids and your wife, or spouse, I should say, wife, husband, whoever it may be for people, right? For me, it's a wife. Your family, right? There's probably not a bigger love than there is for that. And that right there speaks volumes. For me, my kids now, they're older. I've got two of them that are now engaged. So I'm getting to that stage now of, okay, need to keep myself healthy to see them get married and so forth and be part of their weddings, and then eventually have kids, right? Where I'll have grandkids. So that all continues for me, right? It's not something that just stops after a year or two. Like I can keep reaching for that why. The same thing with, the whole thing with growing old with my wife and so forth. So that's a really good, passionate why for me. It doesn't have to be the same type of why for you. Like you might have a completely different circumstance, and you might have something else that is just really passionate, that you feel really strong about, and that's your why. And as long as it's something that isn't more of a, I'm going to get there in 6 months and then that's it. No, it's something you can keep striving for, keep reaching. That's probably the key, is striving for, right? Keep striving for that. Then that's going to be a great why for you. So always make sure that you have defined what that why is, and then remind yourself of that why. And, for people that are struggling with staying on their plan because they have the different cravings, carb cravings, sugar cravings, whatever it is, or they just have problems with their motivation, I tell them to remind themselves of their why every day and do it out loud. Like when you first wake up in the morning, remind yourself of your why loud. You're by yourself probably, or maybe with your spouse or whatever. So it's okay. Like people are going to make fun of you, but say out loud what your why is. When you say it out loud, it tends to be more in your conscience. You tend to remember that more, and it stays up there, right? And then do it again at night, right before bed. Remind yourself of that why again, and do that every day, and that's going to help. And if you are at a situation where you're feeling cravings or something, there's some different things you can do for that. But remind yourself of the why again. Be like, hey, don't give in. Remember, this is my why. So, I really feel like that is one of the biggest things that somebody can do with trying to lose weight and get healthy and so forth, is just continue to have that why that's so passionate for you. Let me know in the comments down below if you're interested in sharing what your why is. I shared with you my why. I'd like to hear what your why is down below. It's great to hear what different people's whys are. And plus, when you go and you're writing it down in there, it reminds you again in your consciousness what your why is, and it helps you to just be more motivated by it, right? So let me know down below. I'd like to hear. And if you have any other suggestions for people that maybe are already doing this, they're doing a why and they're struggling a little bit. Maybe they just need a little bit of help with making a stronger why, but maybe they need something else too. So drop that down in the comments below too, different tips you have for people. And let's just kind of create a list for people that are going to come in, watch this video. They're going to see the comments and they're going to be able to read the comments, and people are going to get some really good tips. They're going to get some, really good ideas for how to keep themselves motivated, accountable. Really, you're accountable to yourself more than anything, but you can be accountable to your family and so forth, and your best friends and that kind of stuff too. But you can just be accountable to yourself. That's the biggest thing. It's really about yourself, right? It's about getting better than you were the day before, not what somebody else was, but getting better than what you were the day before. So keep yourself motivated and so forth. Let us know in the comments what kind of tips you have for people, and let's just help people out.